At this point, we should have the MySQL database imported correctly with all the tables and the data imported. And hopefully by this point, the FTP transfer is complete. If it's not complete, you'll have to wait for that to complete before following along to the next step. But for now, we're going to move along to the FTP client here. You can see on this window here that all the file system has been transferred over into the correct folder. Now, the last step we need to do is to connect the file system and the database. You'll see at the moment, if we go to the domain name that we have been working on, it jumps to an installation page because it sees the file system there, but it doesn't find a database connection. So basically, instead of going through that default installation, we're going to connect the database information that we uploaded so that some of the information and the themes are pre-populated and pre-configured. So go back to your FTP client, and within the file system that you uploaded, go to the Sites folder, and then the default folder. You'll see two files here. And the settings.php file is the one that contains the settings to connect the database and the file system. So I'm going to click on Edit, and we need to make sure to edit this in a text editor, not a rich text editor such as Microsoft Word or so on, something that just edits the text and doesn't add any additional formatting. If you're following along in the manual that you downloaded from siroptimist.org, you'll be able to see the string here that we're searching for, but basically the db_URL variable here contains the string that will allow it to connect the file system to the database. So you'll see a number of placeholders here. The first one is username, so I'm going to highlight the word username in this string and delete it, and then type in the username that I set up when I was creating the database. And the next placeholder is called password, which, just as it sounds, means the password that you set up with the MySQL database. Hopefully more secure than my demo password here. Now, the placeholder called localhost, on DreamHost, we'll need to change this to the MySQL domain that we set up. Many other hosts will allow you to just use the word localhost, and that'll tell it to look on the local computer. But in this case, we have to, since we're doing the demo on DreamHost, we have to type in the domain that we're using for MySQL. The database name placeholder gets replaced with the database name that we set up again earlier. That's basically all we need to do to connect the file system, which we're editing the settings in the file system right now, to the database. So I'm going to save that, close the text editor, and go back to my browser to do a final check here. If we go back to the domain name, instead of the installation page, we should see the default Club Web site page. And at this point, you can continue along in the manual in relation to logging into the site and changing some of the default settings and getting familiar with the administrative interface.